Oh boy, you're going to hear the sound loud and proud tonight in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all music and all sports matters here because our guest has got plenty to say because his name was certainly mentioned first by his brother-in-law. Yeah, we'll probably mention the softball field or maybe not. We'll also talk about those international players that were here and had plenty to say about our coach, but we'll also have plenty to say about that historic 2025 season for our Five Town Sound men's soccer team, where we certainly were a family and we won that NACIA conference championship, our first conference championship in a few years. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some highs. We'll talk about next season. We'll talk about recruiting and we'll talk about who knows whatever else. But I know our guest, for whatever reason, hasn't been here in a few years, and I have to give him that introduction. I have to give him that introduction that he most certainly deserves. And I've even got a surprise for him later on in the show. No, his brother-in-law is not coming on here to tell him to bring the Sunday sauce. No, the international players aren't going to come on here and remind him about something that he said to them during the season and some other things. But we'll certainly get to that later on. But I am now going to give our guest an introduction to start the show off here in style on Sportswire Radio, the number one global radio station where all wrestling, all music, and all sports matters. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one Global Sports Show. He's the assistant coach for our 2025 NACIA Conference Champions in men's soccer for the Five Town Sound. His name is simply put, Coach Brandon Wells.
What a
Coach,
fantastic
how are we doing?
I am fantastic. Happy to be back. I didn't think you could top your intros, but you have to redo Jason's now. It's better than it's better than this.
We're having some technical difficulties there with you on the screen for a minute, but I think Jason was talking about this when he came on the first time, and we went from like hi, it was monotone on a Skype call, or, and it was on the phone, and now we get them, and we got the big video, we got the fancy lights in the background, and we spent the big bucks, and we got the big bucks intros because, well, the Five Town Sound is definitely here, and we're going to make sure people hear the sound loud and proud as we always do. So yes, it is good to see you here, Coach. And I think you're frozen on the screen, Coach. So hopefully you there you go. We're having some difficulties there with you, Coach. Hopefully we see you now. Yeah, you're coming a little slow. Let's see you now. It's good to see you, Coach.
That's good to see you too. Happy to be back.
Good. It's good to be back. And obviously, we're talking a lot about the Five Town Sound men's soccer team. And we're going to, I think, get this right now. So, Coach, for those that are listening and watching here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform that you and the Five Town Sound men's soccer team most certainly helped build, Sportswire Radio. Now that you've gotten a chance to reflect, how do you feel overall about the 2025 season for our FTC men's soccer program?
I feel good. We didn't come in with high expectations, to be quite honest. We knew we had a solid team, better than average, but we weren't sure exactly what we were going to get out of this group. And they were coachable. They listened. They worked hard. They came to practice and we worked and we worked, and we ended up winning a national championship, beating a bunch of teams nationally. I give credit to the internationals. I give credit to the seniors that have been riding with us. It was quite the year, and I'm happy to get a championship, be back. I need to win a couple more championships. I like to fill my hands. I got 2 of them. I got to get 3 more. So, but yeah.
That's funny you said that.
The Thanos Infinity Stones. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, we'll see if we can work on that. But you said something interesting, and I want to go back to it, which I've known you a long time. Jason comes on here every year, and the expectations weren't as high as maybe in previous years, which I kind of find fascinating because I always feel like at Five Towns, the standards and the expectations always are national championship, eventually winning the USCA. But you say that the expectations weren't maybe as high as in previous years. I find that fascinating. You want to talk a little further about that?
Yeah, we had a couple of last-minute recruits that, unfortunately, from different various circumstances, they couldn't join the team anymore. And then we had the senior Eric Groover that worked so hard to come back and got to the end of preseason. He tore his ACL, and we were relying heavily on him. He was going to be he came in as the favorite to be our starting striker. We're expecting he's a big-time goal scorer. He works hard. We were expecting, they'll get a lot out of him. And then for him to work so hard from tearing his ACL from the surgery, and then, see it go down to such a good kid like that was heartbreaking to see. So with those things, it kind of just like we were taking hit after hit after hit before preseason, during preseason. We're like, what's this season now going to look like? We don't know, but you know what? We're here. We never give up. We built ourselves a brand, a name. We're coaches that have been at different levels, collegiately and professionally, and we just used our experience. We did the best we could with the group. The group bought in, and they played. They worked hard. They did everything they could, and we got a championship out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking a lot about that with Coach Facina, and in some ways, this championship meant more than the one you guys had in 21. 21, it was like we knew it was going to be a magical team. We were ready. We were prepared for that. But this team definitely went through some adversity. The schedule was definitely challenging. You guys traveled up and down the state of New York and elsewhere. And to get here, I think it was definitely more challenging than the 21 team. And not to compare, but I'm going to ask because Jason spoke about it when he was here a few weeks ago. Do you feel like in some ways that this season's championship was more rewarding than the one in 2021?
That's a difficult question because 21 was difficult because we were brand new. There was a lot of unknowns with schedule, team, and all that. We were only in year 2 of the program existing, so it's a hard question to really answer. But I would say from the kids that we had this year, the amount of them that played different minutes in positions they weren't comfortable, never played before, adapt and do that and do it successfully, I'd probably say 2025 is probably the more difficult, yes.
Yeah, I think so too, because I think of the travel. I think of who we had to face, number 1 teams nationally, Brian Stratton. I mean, the amount of games we played in a short span. I mean, this team really grinded. I think in 21, we knew it was going to be special. I mean, I never forget during COVID, talking to the players one by one. This team was as prepared as could be, and they had the experience of 19, and they had a year break, whereas this team, like you said, there was a lot of unknowns, there was injuries. I think the schedule was certainly something, and I think that this season was certainly more challenging than the one in 2021. And when I think about this season, Coach, and things to me that stand out as to why this team wound up winning the NACIA Conference Championship was at net. Jose Garcia. You've had some great goalies over the years, and I know Tori's going to certainly take credit for that. But you got to talk about Jose Garcia for me, and just to see. I know you laughed on that one, but I mean, you got to talk to me about Jose Garcia and what a season he had for us.
Oh man, Jose Garcia. I outright won us some games. There's some games that we struggled or we got off to a slow start, whatever the case may be, and he bailed us out. He's crazy. He's crazy, and it's a good crazy because he gets so the adrenaline, everything. He's so into the game. He just flies everywhere. He gets in the other team's head. When they're taking a penalty shot on him, he talks to them. It's incredible, and to be able to read the penalty shots, the amount of penalty shots he saved this year, and to be so smart with his quick decisions when he's coming out to make that save, when he gets the ball quick to distribute it. Even our team, he's a great field player. We have confidence in passing the ball back to him. That's hard to find keepers like that. Steven was good too like that. So we've been blessed to be finding these goalies, these diamonds in the rough that other colleges won't give these kids a chance, and we have great recruiting. We have great connections that allow us to identify this. And I can't speak highly enough of Jose Garcia. I'm excited to see if he could top this year. I know it's going to be difficult, but if there's any player on the team that'd be able to do it, it'd definitely be him.
Yeah, it's a great point you made because there's no question he won us a few games on his back. And we know that when this program, which by and large has been pretty much successful since day one, since, Coach Vecina came in here with yourself and Tori, now later on Coach Glancy, we've had great goaltending. And Jose Garcia is another one of those great goaltenders that we've had. And, when I got to talk about Andre Hickling for us, obviously Andre's one of those guys that's been here a long time. And talk to me about Andre Hickling and how important he was for this season for us.
Andre's a great player. He always played middle of the park for us, and he came up to us and said, "Coach, I could play center back. Coach, there's some guys on some of these teams that are really fast or they're very good skillfully or whatever the case may be." He made his points, and he's like, "I'm willing to sacrifice for this family to move back there and do that." And, it was something that as a coaching staff we talked about, but we're like, what do we lose in the middle if we do that? Who could replace him? And then, Rafa, he played center back his whole life. We put him at this DCM where Andre was, and he filled in beautifully, like stuff like that. You never know what players can do. They could surprise you. And Andre Hickling definitely surprised us with how well he played the position and how much it settled our team when he did.
No question about that. And I want to go back to something else that you said here. And we have a lot of seniors here. We have a lot of veterans that they've had success, but they didn't taste a conference championship in many cases. And how important was our seniors to help us get over the hurdle? Because, Pisani, Reyes, and Johan were here a couple weeks ago, and they talked about the other players that were here, and they were learning about what the team had went through and coming up short. But how important were the seniors overall in terms of that leadership that was able to help us get over the hurdle this year?
They were extremely important. They brought that experience. They shared what it felt like to lose those conference championships, to lose in the national tournament, what they could have done differently, what the teams could have done differently, and sharing that experience with the younger guys, or maybe guys that have only just done it for 1 year. It was huge. I mean, I'm going to go back to Eric Groover. Eric Groover came to every single game. He helped with warm-ups with his one leg. He rehabbed it back enough that he texted coach and said, "Coach, I'm willing to do whatever this team needs. If you need me to give 5 minutes on the field just for a sub, whatever it is, I'll do it. You tell me to go get something, I'm going to go get." He's like, "I want to be here for this team and do whatever I can." He wasn't going to let him tearing his ACL stop him from sacrificing, doing what he could for the team. Anthony Campos, probably between my playing and coaching career, top 5 player I've ever seen. He shared his experiences. He kept the team in line. He played hard. He played every minute. I think the only time he ever came out is when there was a blowout game, and he would come out for like the last, that's maybe 10, 15. That's it. So he was averaging 90 minutes a game plus more if we were in any OT or anything or extra stoppage time. So he sacrificed. Andre, again, coming to us and asking to play out of position. Gabe Santos was our winger entire career. we threw him right into the middle, and he did it seamlessly, and he helped settle our team. He helped distribute the ball well. I could go on and on about these guys. It's an incredible senior group. It's sad to see him go. It's the hardest part of coaching is getting to know these players 4 or 5 years, you spend 1/3 of the year getting to know these players each year, seeing them every single day or 6 out of 7 days a week. And then just like that, I got to see them in May at their graduation, and then they're gone. And that's it. It's the hardest part.
Yeah, that's definitely something that gives you stomach knots. I can only imagine, and for the players. But you guys have been very successful, and I have no doubt that there'll be memories, and we'll all be in touch. But there's something else that you talked about, and it goes hand in hand with the leadership. And I know you heard this when the international players were here, and we were talking about this with Facina, was family. No, not you and Facina in terms of that, but the word family and why that term specifically was so important. And talk to me from your vantage point about that term family and how it helped us win that 2025 NACIA conference title.
I'm going to use the word sacrifice because, again, the amount of kids that played out of position, they were uncomfortable spots. We had Rafa go down in our final, and here comes Johan, who never played center back all year. We threw him in, and he did the job great, and we ended up winning a championship because he's able to go in seamlessly and hold down the fort. That's just an example there. It's just all these players were willing to do whatever it took to win, to be coachable, to listen, to adapt, just to sacrifice in order for us to be successful. And as a coaching staff, you can't ask for anything better than that.
Absolutely, no question about that. And if you are here on Sportswire Radio, do me a favor. Please follow the Five Town Sound men's soccer team, most importantly on Instagram, so you can keep up to date with the school, support the team. There's a number of different things coming up. We want to make sure everybody joins and follows our FTC men's soccer team so we can hear the sound loud and proud. And 11 Hearts Beating is one. So we get that family atmosphere. Five Towns has been so gracious to us for nearly 7 years on this platform, and we want to continue to support those who have supported us since day one, and that is the FTC men's soccer team. So please support the team. Please support the coaching staff. And obviously, they have an upcoming futsal tournament, which is going to take place next month. It's crazy, Coach. 2025 is almost over, but the futsal tournament is coming up here on the 25th of January. It is open to all high school players. You can message Coach Facina on Instagram to reserve your spot today, and it's open up to all high school teams. And you can also email Coach Facina, and it's a $250 entry fee, which is a great deal, especially what's going on these days. And also, there are a 3-game guarantee. I mean, that is certainly a deal, and I almost want eligibility just for that. But nevertheless, we don't want me on the field. You said something else that I want to go back to, and the players playing and adapting. And, we talked about what happened with Pisani, and Johan comes in, and, Eric Groover. We talked about Hickling, Campos. There's other players I'll ask you on. But for your job, it must make your job so much easier that you have players that buy in, that have that family motto, and will do anything it takes to win, because your job as a coach is certainly to get the best out of your players. But as you know, you've been at this a while, and sometimes that's not an easy thing to do. So that must make your life a lot easier, because you have such great players that will do anything out there to win. And that line, family, right? It's no I. There's no I in that. And they're all about that. And it's all about winning, because they love you, your staff, and everyone else. So talk to me about how easier that makes your job.
It makes it a lot easier. There's a lesson that I learned as a player when I was being recruited for college. And my high school coach said, when you're asked what you can do or where you play, you say anywhere. You say whatever you need me to do.
Yep.
Or you say, I'm a striker. That's my main focus, but I will do whatever the team needs me to do. I got to college, and I was thrown into 3 different spots, so I know how it feels that I never played before, and I did it anyway. And when I have players that I coach and they do it, and I know that feeling, and I know what I wanted to play. I wanted my team to win. I wanted to do, and for have the same attitude that I have as a coach, it's very humbling, and it's great to see, and it makes your job just so much easier, because hey, you're going in here and you're moving here. You never played it before, but we know you can do it. And they know that we're putting in there because we have the confidence in them, and that and that's the key is, as a coach, you have to be confident in all your players and confident in the moves that you make. So they shouldn't be like, oh, why is coach doing this? Because they know, hey, coach is putting me here because he's confident in me and I'm going to go do that job.
That's a good point. And I think obviously your experience certainly helps us in that regards. And, one of the things that we talked a lot about with Coach Vicina when he was here a few weeks back was the schedule. And I think there's no question that this was a difficult schedule, but I think that month of October is where you guys really gelled in that schedule and, going out and winning as many games as you did. Obviously the Brian Stratton win, we know what that meant to Coach Vicina, obviously, and, going out there and winning as many times as we did. Talk to me about the month of October and why the team really gelled, because if we go back into that schedule, you're talking about playing once again a span from when we won the conference championship against Brian Stratton Rochester. We played 8 games in 3 weeks. So talk to me about that month of October and where everything kind of just gelled for us.
It's actually crazy to think about the month of October because we had so much success early on in the season that we didn't really face that much adversity. And that's what this group faced. This is what, you have your highs, you have your lows. And we had our lows. And our team gelled. They used the word family. They respected each other. They came to work and they're like, you know what, coach, don't worry. We asked, what's going on, guys? What can we do? We're very open with our players. We ask for feedback. What more can we do? What more do you guys need? You go, coach, don't worry. We got this. That was a consensus from the team. And we're like, if the players got it, what are we worrying about? Because we're worrying. We're like, we might not be ranked, or we might not go to the tournament. We might not even go to our conference tournament. We're like, that's where our minds were like, what's going on that's not gelling? What's happening? And when you have players that sacrifice, players that are family, players that gel, they connected, they faced that adversity, and they came and we're good, we got it, we're ready to roll, and they just came to work and they put the past in the past.
Well, but you guys were able to do that. But I think to me what was so impressive about that run, we talked a lot about it with Vicina, 8 games in 3 weeks, 8 games in 22 days.
Travel,
yeah, to travel, Albany, Rochester, Syracuse.
Those are the worst travel schedule we've ever had.
I know, it wasn't like in 21. We were going to what, Pratt? We were going Berkeley. We were going nowhere. But this year's team, you guys, traveled more on the buses than maybe the previous years combined. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, in that 8 games, we go 6-1-1.
Mm-hmm.
6-1-1.
I have to give a lot of credit to Coach. He team meetings in the morning, team walks, made sure everybody was at breakfast on time, talked about the games, he planned out everybody's day. There was no mystery. There's no nothing. We knew what time was breakfast, what time was a team meeting, what time the walk was, what time the bus was leaving, what time we were getting to the field, the kickoff, all that. And knowing that and being that prepared, more prepared than probably I would probably say other teams that we faced, or maybe some on Long Island in the New York metro area are.
Right.
That's huge. That's gigantic. But that's the attention to detail that Coach Vicina brings. That's something that I've, working with him for now 7 years, I've learned a lot from him. And then you don't think you could learn more. And in this intense travel schedule, I learned even more from him. So I give all the credit in the world to him that in those 8 games, facing that adversity, going on this run, being as prepared as we are, living on a coach bus basically every weekend. I can't speak of how incredible of a coach and how incredible of a job that he does, and to be his right hand man all these years and watching his program grow and watching him grow to become the U.S. men's national team and all that. It's quite it's the accomplishments and everything. It's absolutely incredible.
But I think what's even most impressive about the run, and yes, on the field, 6-1-1, beating Rochester twice, beating Syracuse. I mean, these are great wins, no question. But
stand of the week, Rochester.
I know. Listen, and again, 8 games in 22 days, and you're traveling up and down the state. But to me, what was most impressive is that these kids also have to be in the classroom. These kids, in some cases, have jobs. They have other responsibilities, and to do what this team did, I think speaks volumes, number one, to the players. I think it speaks, number two, to the players, coaches, and 3, most importantly, the program that we've built here at Five Towns, that family motto. So to me, what really stands out, in addition to our performance on the field with our players, obviously our staff, but also the environment that we've built. You're here, but also the environment that we have here at Five Towns, that workman-like professionalism, that what led us to where other schools, they might have fell through the cracks. I mean, listen, anybody else, I mean, we would have said, oh, well, we understood, we felt bad, ba-ba-bee, ba-ba-boom, the schedule would have been the reverse record, we would have had an excuse. But no, not with this team, because I think, once again, the players wanted it. We had Pisani, we had Reyes and Johan on here. They talked about that importance of winning for the seniors. But you all as a staff, and I think also the school and the environment that we've built, and I think that speaks volumes to everybody involved.
I couldn't agree more. And something that you brought up that I wanted to definitely touch on is this school, our staff, this program. We are very lucky because we get the diamonds in the rough that I mentioned earlier in the interview. Yes. We these kids, some of them should be playing D3, maybe low D2. And absolutely, for whatever reason, maybe they don't believe in them because they don't have size, or their first step isn't as quick, or whatever the case may be. We give them that chance, and they want that chance. They want to work for that chance. They come into preseason with no guaranteed starting position. They earn their minutes every single day. And it's just, it's incredible to have the opportunity to have these players that should be getting these looks and these chances and giving them their shot. Some of them, we see them for a year or two, then they transfer out and they go bigger. You know what? Great. Honestly, great.
That's always happened in college.
No hard feelings at all.
That's the way the lay of the land.
Because honestly, you should have been here in the first place. But you know what? Now that we're ranked nationally in the top 5 every year, now that we're winning conference championships and we're in the national tournament every year, you should be with us. You should stay with us because we're seen as a national powerhouse.
No question about that. And I think that what we've done here in 7 years is basically built a program from the ground up, which I think speaks volumes to, obviously, Coach Facina, yourself, Tori, obviously now Coach Glancy, Coach Topple, but I mean also the players as well go into that. But you guys were number 1 ranked also this season for a few weeks, and I think, going back again, not to make that comparison once again, but I think it was more impressive this year being number 1 ranked than in 21 because of that schedule, because of who we played, because of the adversity, because of how much we had to travel. This team played far more on the road than it did here in Dix Hills. And I think being number 1 is going to help us going forward next season because of our conference, because of who we had to beat. And talk to me about, from your vantage point, the importance of being ranked number 1 this year for several weeks.
Oh man, it had been a while. It had been a while since we were ranked number 1. We were always flirting in the top, 3, 4.
Yeah, top 5. We talked about that. Yeah.
We never really reached that number 1 again. So I think it was 3 straight weeks or 4 straight weeks we were number 1. We had preseason ranked number 2. It just speaks volumes to all the players that have come and sacrificed and worked hard, and we gave them their shot, and they came to win championships. And they built this history. They built us into a national powerhouse, and to have their legacy, move on to this team, and this team worked to uphold it and to get that number 1 rank. It was a fantastic job by everyone that's come through this program, and it speaks volumes to where we're heading as well.
Absolutely, no question about that. And if you are here on Instagram, like I said, follow our Five Town Sound men's soccer team. And speaking of one of the international players that was here on Sportzwire Radio, who did want to chime in after some comments he made about you a few weeks ago, that is, of course, Mr. Pisani himself. And anything you want to say to Mr. Pisani?
Oh man, Rafa. No, Rafa he's a great player. I'm glad that he's watching. I appreciate the kind words. I know we did have a private conversation, and I do know what you think about me, man. So don't worry. We'll have some more private conversations as well. He's a great player. He's ready to. We talked about him moving positions, so he's ready for it. He didn't question it. He didn't fight it. He's ready to. If it's center back or to move into that DCM spot, he's ready to go. He brought some stability, some leadership. And I'm excited for him to come back and to see him grow even more and what else he could bring to to our team.
Absolutely no question about that. And obviously our goaltender, who we spoke about a little bit earlier, is
Oh
here.
no! Oh no!
You knew this was going to happen, but
Yeah, the crazy guy. Yeah.
you open yourself up for it. You do know that. I mean,
He loves my miles. He's the only player. Everybody else hates me because I make them run so much.
We're talking about that. No, I didn't know that. I want to go back to that. I wasn't going to do it, but now I'm going to go back to it because
let's get right into it.
Because I know you've been on here a few times. I've known you a while, but I guess you're the taskmaster of the coaching staff. I mean, you're the one that cracks the whip. I mean, I guess maybe that's why some players are just saying good things about you, because next year they want to maybe run a little less. They want to do a little less out there, especially when we start, training camp where it's going to be 80, 90, 100 degrees. Whereas now, all right, it's, we want to go out and do those things, to get warmed up, but you're the taskmaster of the coaching staff, huh?
Yeah. I came as a player. I had to run 3 miles under 18 minutes. I had track coaches as my assistant staff coaches. So I had track practice at soccer, and I knew how important fitness is and how much it helps, you as a player and the team, especially when you're getting down to late games and, you're tired, your legs are heavy and all that. So, Coach Facina tasked me. He's like, "You're the fitness guy." He's like, I know your drills. I know you got crazy stuff. He's like, "This is what we need from you for the staff. This is like your number one focus." So I brought everything that I did as a player, some other stuff that I found through coaching manuals and stuff. I tailored into these intense preseasons, and then once a week we have fitness just to make sure we keep the levels up. And I feel, especially as you mentioned, 8 games and
22 days. That's crazy, right? Think about that. 8 games in 22 days.
And if you're not a fit team, you don't go 6-1-1.
No, absolutely not. Listen,
6-1-1.
I mean, that's difficult anywhere.
Yeah.
You talk about and you were a successful player. You played it, at a high level, whether you're D1 or D2. I mean, to do that 6-1-1 and the schedule and the teams you played and the schools with that, to do that. I mean, we talk about this in wrestling all the time. The endurance, you have to stay in shape. You have to be able, because you go in a match, your 10 minutes feels like an eternity. And for the players, I guess you being the taskmaster worked out, because you guys were 6-1-1 in that 8-game stretch, and it led you into the conference championship to win it, and then back in the USCAA. So I guess maybe something that Facina doesn't, or anybody else doesn't, because he ain't certainly doing those things. Facina ain't doing those things. We both know that he ain't doing them.
Yeah, no, he has me do it. He knows all. He has me do it. But he's the one that again put me in charge of it. But it was funny to hear them say that though. Some of the players don't like Coach Wells because they're running. It's a love-hate relationship.
I gotta be honest with you. When they said that, it reminded me, and I don't remember if I said it in the episode, but it reminded me when I was a kid. I played basketball. I never forget playing in Brooklyn. And I played CYO basketball, and my coach, it was Coach Doyle. It was Coach Doyle, and then I had Mahoney, and I think it was McGuire. And I never forget, they made us run, we would run, and then they had the medicine ball. We had to go and play with the medicine ball. And I used to hate that. We would do that. We would just want to just, shooting layups for like 30, 40 minutes, right? You get an hour and, I'm 10, I'm 10, 11, years old. It's not like, these guys are athletes. But I remember even then, I would hate when my coaches would want to always make us run around the gym, and then they would make us want to, touch our toes, and then we'd have to play with the medicine ball. Maybe that's why I didn't, go out naked in basketball, but at least I made it here. Yeah. So, I mean, I probably, maybe it evens out, but I remember as a kid when I played basketball, and I used to hate running around the gym.
Yeah, no, I mean, I used to do hill training. I used to have ankle weights and then parachutes where you would run and there'd be like a huge parachute behind you. I would have these.
One of my guests actually just did one of that. I should ask her about that.
It hurts.
Oh, well, that's why you're there, and I'm not. But I guess I could understand why that they, felt the way they did. But obviously, we know that they were lovingly, kidding it. Maybe not. Yeah. But I want to ask you something else. I want to talk about some of the players. I want to come back to something else, though. And obviously that win on October 29th to win the conference championship. I talked to the players about it. I talked to your brother-in-law about it. I got to ask you, what's going through your mind during that, and then for us to finally win that conference championship? Talk to me about it.
So as the year unfolded, I was like, as I said, our expectations were like, we don't know, but I felt confident that we were going to win something. I didn't know if it would be the conference or a national championship, but I had a feeling we were going to win something. And when we beat Rochester for the first time ever, when we came back twice,
We know Jason wanted that one. We spoke about that a lot over the years.
But that game pretty much solidified to me that what I was feeling was I didn't even think wasn't going to happen, or maybe it was going to happen. And the way we battled, play a team that's a national powerhouse, national champion, all that, and we've had so much struggles with in the past, and we finally got them. I was like, this team, when they said to us, Coach, we got it. Coach, we got you guys. Like, Coach, there's nothing to change. I knew with that adversity, and when they came together and said that, we were good. And that result there just proved everything. And then to come back again a week later, I was like, if we play FTC soccer, if we play the way we did against them in that last game, if we play the way that we did, never gave up like we did against Syracuse, we got it. And that's exactly what happened. We played intense. We played tough. We played together. We covered each other. Again, we had an injury early with Rafa, and Johan went to an unknown position, locked it down. We had guys, Alela, that got limited minutes throughout the year. He always worked his butt off to get those minutes. He earned those minutes. To play those last 15, 20 minutes the way he did, lights out like he never did before, holding the ball, keeping it deep when running out time. It was just I could go on and on. Danny Valverde, a right back who's an all.
Oh, we're going to talk about Valverde. We're going to talk about him.
Just in general, just to get that flick for Edward to run on and put into the net on a throw-in from JP. It's just like, JP, I can't give him credit enough. Those long throw-ins were the most dangerous thing. Danny Valverde, great in the air. Those flicks were the most dangerous thing in the box. And then to have guys that are hungry for goals to run through like Edward did and put that in the net. When I saw that ball going in the net, I lost it. I absolutely lost it.
I wouldn't blame you, but, going in your mind, obviously that win in the semifinals where, it goes, to penalty, to a shootout. I mean, you got to be in your mind just like you're on pins and needles. I know we've talked about these instances before in the past. Yeah, that's my point, but that's why I had to ask your perspective on it. Because I know when Facina was talking about it, he said that, everybody was like, kind of just calm and collected. I think you talked about Garcia. Garcia was like, we got this. And, it was just fascinating that, in that instance, it's either make or break moment, but the players, they had ice in their veins. The old line is you have ice in your veins, and they had that. And that's why you guys were able to pull through. And that's why, you got to just, who knows what you're thinking there.
I mean, I was heartbroken because I had taken that day off to go on the trip, and I unfortunately couldn't go, so I had to live stream from home. But to go into a hostile environment like that with a coach on the other team that was just, I just say, I'm just gonna put mean. I'll just say it that way. I'll keep it professional. I'll just say mean. To go down and come back, and then take the lead and then give it up with 30 seconds left to go on and be down a man 2 in overtime, play the whole overtime, and then go into penalty shoots and win against the team that was ranked number 1 basically the whole year when we weren't. A team that only loss was to us when we beat them 3-0 at home. To go into that kind of environment, face that kind of adversity, and come out on top, it just speaks volumes of the group and the type of characters that we had on the team. And it was just from someone that's sitting at home and dying inside for every single kick to take down the penalty shootout mid winning kick, not knowing if it went in or not, what's going on. I had to FaceTime 5 people for Groover. Finally got my FaceTime and put me on. And then Facina snatching the phone out of his hand, screaming. I was like,
yeah, I can see Facina doing that. Yeah, I can see Facina doing that. Yeah, I could actually vividly picture him on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it went from pins and needles and dying, feeling like I was going to be sick to, absolute elation. I picked up my son and we were cheering left and right. I had no idea what was going on. And I was just like, I don't even care at this point. I can't believe we pulled it off. This is unbelievable.
But you've been through a lot in your career, whether it was a player, obviously here at Five Towns over the years. And it's just one of those, I mean, I don't want to compare, but I mean, it's just one of those situations that, I mean, what do you do?
I go back. So from a coaching standpoint, nothing's ever going to beat that Brandywine game.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
And we won in OT, facing a team that was on like a 35-game unbeaten streak, was favorites for the national championship and all that. Like, having that feeling of, wow, we're playing them, and like to come out and win and face that kind of like being on the sideline for that was just like nothing compares to that, to be honest, because it's just like that was like the team, like the USCAA team.
I know, and
national champions beat us in a national final, like all that, and like the overtime and the hitting the post and dominating, can't score, and then to have that last second goal, like that feeling compared to others is just. It was crazy.
It's one of the biggest moments, certainly. Yeah, it's one of the biggest moments in the program's history, obviously. But even for you, I mean, because again, that's why I was so fascinated to ask your perspective, because we spoke to the players about it a few weeks ago in Facina, but to hear your side of it, and I know we've done a lot of different things here at Five Times, and you've done a lot of different things in your own right, but it's just one of those situations where sometimes people they buckle in those situations. You get the stomach knots and you get nervous, but they had ice in their veins. And I think, one of the things Facina was talking about was that you guys practiced those situations. You guys were prepared for that. So there had to have been that in the psyche, and that's why you guys were able to roll everything off your chest. And again, dealing with a team that had the success that they've had, and we knew the importance of winning that game, and it led us to obviously going in 2 days later, a couple days later, into the national championship, for the conference final, and getting into the USCAs, because you could look back. One of the things you said that was interesting a little while ago is that you didn't know if this team was going to go to the nationals. You talked about the team, obviously Groover's injury early on in the year, and who knows? What if we lose the game on kicks? Do we get into the USCAs? You never know, because you just don't know. That's why that game was so significant, winning that game, because it led us certainly to going to the conference final and winning that. But ultimately, that win probably put us in the USCAAs.
Yeah, the amount of uncertainty going into that game and the results and what we needed, me and the coaching staff talked, and we kind of had confidence that we would maybe get in as a 5 or 6 seed, but we're looking at teams behind us. We're like, well, if they win their conference championship, or they get this result with this game, now we're flirting with it. So we went into it with some confidence that we were going to do, but with a lot of unknown. And, like getting a result like that was huge. Getting a result like that shows that the sky was the limit. Getting a result like that shows we're the number one team. We're the team to beat. That game gives all confidence in the world. We go into the conference championship like, oh, it's just Rochester. It used to be like, oh, circle Rochester. Now it's in the final, and like, oh, it's just Rochester. We beat them already. We beat Syracuse twice. No one else has beat them once. We beat them twice. Like, that's the kind of confidence our team got from it, which, confidence is huge. Coaching staff, you got to show that you're confident. You can never say when you're nervous or you don't think the team's going to win. You go and you think every game you're going to win. I think we're going to win every game anyway, but you can't show that because it feeds on the team. And for them to have the confidence, come together, sacrifice, do what they had to do. Like, I could go on and repeat myself from everything from early in the year, but it's just like I have to, because it just everything the team did this year can't coming together the way that they did resulted in the conference championship. The hard work paid off. Now,
I agree with that completely.
Goal, but
Look, I mean, it's one of those things, not to go and harp on it. You guys play 8 games in 22 days, and, eventually there was going to be a crash. Yep. But I think at the end of the day, what this team did winning the conference championship is, highly, highly impressive. And I think it's going to lead us to certainly bigger and better things next year, and winning that national championship here in the USCAs, which I know has always been the goal. And, we were so close in 21, but we've been there every year in the USCAs. And I think that we're only going to continue to grow the program, which you guys have all done a great job. So let me ask you this question, not to jump further. I do want to come back and talk about a few players, but going into the offseason, now that the season's been over now for a few weeks, and now we're looking toward next summer for training camp, how do we use this season from your vantage point when it comes to recruiting? That's one of your strengths. You and I were talking about this off the air, and obviously the international players brought you up, and in some not so loving ways, but I think we all know the importance of what you've meant to the program. And how do we use then this season from your vantage point to build, but also most importantly, bring people here that are going to get us to that step ultimately of winning the USCAA?
Yeah, I mean, I'm heavily involved in the recruiting. One, just talking about Coach Facina, the type of coach he is, and the record he has, and the track record, and being in the U.S. men's national team. That's one selling point that I definitely have. Having a 60, 28, and 14 overall record in 102 games in program history is another thing that I have. Being a national powerhouse is another thing that I have. We have hundreds of kids every day that are looking to come to Five Towns now because of all this. And when I speak to them, I speak to exactly the proven track record that we have. All different levels of experience our coaching staff has that they're not going to get anywhere else. Like all these points that I use in the recruiting, they're all true. They're all factual. They all could be looked up. Yep. So, I don't have
number one in the country this year for several weeks, 21 undefeated, going into the national championship. USCAA is 5 years in a row. Yep. I mean, runner up to the conference championships in 3 different years. I mean, wins over number one teams.
Yeah, we've been in our conference tournament every year we've been in existence. That includes year one with only 13, 14 players. And only like 10, 11 of them were soccer players.
We were 9, 4, and 2 that year.
We were ranked 9th nationally that year. Like that's the kind of coaching staff and the kind of hard work and players that come through our program. And to be in our conference tournament every single year of our existence, and then for 5 of the 6 years to be in the national semifinals, and then 2 of them being a win away from a final, and then another one being in the final. I don't think there's any program that exists, period, that could say that.
Absolutely. No, and I think what you said was most impressive, and we've talked about the win-loss record. It's 2-1. I mean, you talk about anywhere to go 2-1. I mean, that is just, and we've done that with basically building the program from the ground up. I mean, you talk about just where this program was. It was like an idea, Field of Dreams. Remember Field of Dreams? And it was basically what it was when Facina took over here 7 years ago. It's the 7-year anniversary. It just passed of him taking over. And I have to say hello to my guest yesterday, a man that you certainly was a colleague of yours for a few years, Mr. Coach Jeff Litwin, of course, who is the head coach of the old Westbury Panthers women's soccer team. I wanted to say, yes, Facina's flowers more than your local florist. And I once turned down a job working at a flower shop, but nevertheless, I don't have any flowers here, but Jeff has them, but well deserved. And we miss Jeff at Five Towns. We're talking a lot about Jeff now at Old Westbury, but he wanted to chime in and obviously give his flowers literally from but nevertheless, and thank you, Coach Litwin. I do want to give you something in a few minutes, but I got to bring up Danny Valverde, because if I don't, I'm going to get a comment in here. Either way, I'm going to get it. He's the guy that's going to certainly, I think, give us some more star power and maybe some more flowers for next season. Talk to me about what it was like coaching Danny Valverde.
He's an interesting player because he's a defenseman. He's a right back. He's defensive minded. So making a switch to striker, there's a lot that we had to work through. But something that we noticed towards the end of last year when we kind of put him at 1 or 2 games up at forward just to see what it looked like is in the air, he wins everything. No one beats him in the air. He gets his head on everything or he gets fouled. That's something that you need when those crosses are coming in the box in front of goal. So we're like, let's try this experiment out. Let's see how it goes. And he took it in stride. Me and Coach Topol were strikers and for our careers, so we were giving him pointers and he would listen and he did the best he could and he ended up scoring 9-10 goals and becoming an All-American striker. He's a very good player. I hope this summer that he finds a team that will put him at striker and not at the back, because I like to see him continue to play up there and increase his numbers and be even more successful than he was.
In the Angel Chavez territory, you're hoping for to get us to like 14, 15 goals next season.
And he's someone that I actually use a little bit when I talk in recruiting, because I talk about how You could play any position that you can, and he's one of our young guys that's returning. We graduated seniors, but now we have all these guys that have all this experience that have been to the under the lights for these championships.
Edward Washington, you brought up another guy that I think you're going to
incredible.
He's got a couple of more years of eligibility. I mean, that's another exciting player.
Edward Washington is an incredible player. He is a solid defenseman. He knows when to make runs up top and can be as lethal as a striker in the box. He scored a couple of huge go-ahead goals this year for us. He doesn't stop running. He's fit. He's tough. He'll do whatever you say. You say, go get the soccer balls. He go gets the soccer balls. Go mark this kid on the field. He marks the kid on the field. Now you're playing left back. Go play right back. JP's taking a throw on your side. Switch side. He'll do whatever it takes to win, and he'll do it very well and without any questions asked. Committed at every practice, on time, ready to go, giving people's rides to practice, doing what he needs to do. And it's just incredible. He's an incredible player. I can't speak highly enough of him. And I'm very excited that we got another year. I think we got another 2 years of him. So
yeah, I think we have 2 more years with Washington. Right? I think we have 2 more with him because he's
tournament MVP this year.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's what's in. He obviously was such a clutch player for us. We talked about him with Facina, and I think that's a really important thing is that, yes, we're graduating seniors, but we have some really important players coming back. And, you touched upon John Pusanti, who, is another important player that provides us those intangibles. And he's going to be here for another year. And I would have to think his skill set is going to be crucial for this team next season as well.
Yeah, other than using his right foot, there's nothing he can't do. He has a fantastic left foot. He reads the game super well. He'll play defense. He'll play in the midfield. We tried him at striker. He's incredibly fast. He has a long throw in. And again, he's a sacrifice guy. He'll do whatever it takes to win. He only cares about winning. And I can't speak highly enough about him as well. And that's 2 guys back to back that I can't speak highly enough about that are coming back that are solid pieces to us making our run back.
Absolutely. I know we have Castillo back as well. Josel Castillo is going to provide some big offense. You talk about a trio there. I mean, you've got another nucleus there that is going to put up some big points for us next season.
He is a dangerous player. He's got some quick feet. He on the wing, taking people one-on-one, getting those dangerous crosses in or just ripping shots. He is a hard player to play against. He gives me Hector Ruiz vibes when he has the ball at his feet.
Okay.
It's just boom, boom, gone. He's fast too, very fast. You're not catching. He gets around you. You're not getting him. He's a very dangerous player, and he's another one that I look forward to seeing on that right or left, wing, cutting in, taking shots, taking guys on, and being the dangerous player that he is.
Absolutely no question about it. Now, did you make Coach Litwin run 5 a.m. morning miles? Did you make him run 5 a.m.?
No. So the guys that either were late to practice or did something.
Well, I know we talked about that with Facina. You guys
had
get up
5 a.m. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. We talked about that and the guys himself. I mean, boy, I thought I was getting up early at 3:45, 4 o'clock. You guys probably had me beat because, you were starting those practices at 5 a.m. But if you think about it, it makes sense. I have to give him a mention because Coach Gordieso is here tomorrow. And I never forget when he was at a school, we'll not name, let's just say starts with an S, also in a conference that Mr. Litwin is a part of. Mm-hmm. When he was here, when he worked at that school, I never forget, we would talk about them. They would go start their practices at like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning because that way you do it right before class. You're there. You go out and get your stuff ready. Then maybe you hit the gym, after your lunch break and maybe come back and watch film or whatever. But maybe in a sense, early bird gets the worm. I mean, that's the way. My mother was to always tell him. Mother told me, "Oh, early bird gets the worm. You got to be early." So maybe those 5 a.m. morning miles, maybe the taskmaster, instead of calling you Coach Wells, the taskmaster, Brendan Wells, maybe that's what is why this team was as successful as it was because you got to do these things necessary, especially against they're student athletes. They've got other responsibilities, and it's better early than late.
No, it's cool. It's much cooler too, especially because we do it in the summer. We're doing it.
Oh yeah, August. Forget about it. Yeah, August here, the humidity. You got to do it at 5 a.m.
So, when the sun's just rising, it's cool. You have the mildew on the grass and all that.
Yep.
It's much cooler and it's easier to get those intense running. And so that way in the afternoon, you could focus on those bowl drills. You could get your team used to playing with each other before the game start and all that. So that's what you focus on later. But in the morning, that's when you do your intense stuff where it's cool and it's not dangerous and all that. So
Right.
that's why we end up running it so early. And then for those people that see me at 5 a.m., it's because it's something they're not doing because we start at 6. So that's what they're not telling you is that I'm up for work at that time. That's when I start getting ready and all that. So that time I'm already up ready to go. So they think I'm inconveniencing myself, but it's not an inconvenience at all.
So let me ask you, because I thought that I never get these, because people talk about it on my platform all the time, because we get all these big, famous celebrities now, and these big shots, and people always ask me, they say, oh, do you ever get any sleep? And I say, well, I get a couple hours here, I get a couple hours there, and sometimes I power nap. But with this schedule, from what you're telling me, a taskmaster rather than coach, during the season, and we know you've got a baby. You've got the misses.
Full-time job.
I mean, your full-time job. So are you getting any sleep? Are you like a vampire or what?
I can't. I don't know how to describe it. I am in bed between 11:30, 12, and my alarm goes off at 5:30 a.m. every single morning.
But 5 a.m. practices would mean you got to get the alarm at 3:30, 4 o'clock. So
yep. During the season for that, yep. Those 2-3 weeks, yes, it's an earlier alarm, but yeah, just daily in general, as my alarm goes off at 5:30, I go to work full time, change in the bathroom, run to practice. That was my life for the after preseason. I would be up to 10, 11, 12 talking to coach about strategy and stuff like that.
We know you guys have group chats and Zooms. I know that. I mean,
being a dad, getting ready for the next day. So 4 or 5 hours of sleep, coffee, and energy drinks are my best friend. It's not good for you, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it's needed. So to do what I gotta do, but I sacrifice and do for the success of my team and success from my my real world stuff. So yeah.
Well, I'm gonna ask Coach Gordieso about that. Something tells me I hope he's got a different lifestyle. He'll be here tomorrow night at 8:30. We'll certainly see if that schedule will be a different. I want to ask you a different question before I get something else to you. And we're here with the assistant coach of the Five Town Sound men's soccer team, the 2025 NACIA conference champion here, old friend Mr. Brendan Wells, who's certainly not having his players right now run any 5 a.m. Drills or laps at 5 a.m. because the season's over. But stay tuned in about 8 months from now. But my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally with all music and all sports matters. If you're here, please follow the Five Town Sound men's soccer team on Instagram. Check out the athletics program as well. Also go to their website to find out more information on the team. And we're here for a little while longer. I know we spoke a lot about Paolo. I know we spoke about Johan, and I know we spoke a lot about Pisani, but in a different context, international players, is that something you want to see going forward with the program? I asked Facina about it because obviously we know he's got the position now with the USA men's soccer amputee team. We know that, but what do you think that flair adds, having these international players? I know Pisani had been somewhere else. I know that they add something else in their own experiences overseas, but what do you think going forward in terms of the international players that you think that it'll add to the school?
Well, the first thing is I never want to lose a touch of the local kids, those kids that lose, that slip through the cracks. So they will always have a place on, Coach Facina's team. We talked about it thousands of times. Right. So for those listening and those that may be listening later, if you're local, we're not looking to go fully international. We are looking to add international kids, maybe more than we already have. They bring a different experience, a different type of professionalism, a different type of steadiness to the team that you wouldn't get for just because of the different types of cultures. But they're huge just because now we have a connection in Italy. Now we have a connection in Panama. Now we have a connection in Germany. They have friends. They have teammates that they played with. They have that follow them on socials, that see what they're doing. So it allows us to expand our tree to go internationally, to get these big time players. And to be honest, the teams, most of them that we played, I think at least half of them were fully international squads. So if we
Yeah,
don't
I
go
mean,
to
I know
the
when
we're missing the chance.
I know that we spoke about that with Facina in previous episodes. I mean, these schools have international players. I mean, it's almost,
Hmm.
that's the way it goes. In order to continue to be competitive, you've got to go and recruit elsewhere.
Yep. I mean, they bring a different, style of play. It's more physical, also keeping the ball at their feet. It's it's great for guys that are local to see what life could be like somewhere else. I lived it a little bit myself. Coach Morelli lived it a little
Yep.
bit himself, so we know what that other culture is like, that playing style, the different pace of the game, and all that. And for those guys to bring it over, it helps our team immensely. And then having different guys from other countries maybe next year join us as well just brings different aspects, and we could all learn and adapt together and be more successful than we already are.
Yeah, I think that it's almost the experience factor is the biggest key into what international players would add to the program. I know I agree with you completely. We're always going to have Long Island centric, maybe Queens. We've always had some players from Queens. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Queens, the Queens Long Island border, those that are here
Yep.
local, understand just the geographics. That makes sense. But I think if we can get players like Pisani and Kazadi from Italy, or Johan from Germany, Paolo from Panama. I think, to me, that is going to make a lot of sense, and that's the way to go because of the experience. Because these guys are playing, and they're playing practically against pros. They're playing against people that have far greater experience than what our high school players. And nothing knocking on that, but our high school players are playing here in the city or on Long Island. So I think, to me, it's a natural thing. And I think with obviously the experience that we've had here and the success, I think any player would want to come here, let alone international players, because like you said, the winning percentage of more than 2-1 national championships, number one ranked in the country. And I think that those things are stuff going forward. What are your goals for 2026?
Goals would be just to continue what we're doing, but my goal going to every season is, yeah, conference championships are great, but I want a national championship. That is my ultimate goal. That's what I recruit for. That's what I coach for. That's what I teach for. That's everything. That's everything for our program. It's something that's eluded us, that we have worked hard and have yet to achieve, and that we've always been 1 or 2 wins away every single year from achieving. So that's my goal. Overall, as a team, I like to see our team, grow even more internationally, and watching the two cultures blend, and maybe adapting to a different type of style that maybe we're not used to. That teach me more. That teach Coach Christina more. That would bring something new to our program that we haven't experienced before. But we're in the middle of our recruiting season now, so there's more to be said and done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my goal would be to adapt even more as a team, as a coach, and then to bring that national championship home.
Yeah, I think that that's something that I know we've all been chasing, and that's the ultimate goal. And I know that means a lot to staff. I know it means a lot to the players because we've been there and we've been so close. I mean, you think about 21, we all thought we were going to win that. It was our season. I think we've had certainly some challenging years. I think this year, ultimately, I know it wasn't the result we hoped for in the USCAAs, but I look at it and saying, well, this team played 8 games in 22 days and traveled, up and down on a coach bus throughout the state. I mean, to win the conference championship, that to me was the national championship. And I think as close as we've been in not winning the conference championship 3 straight years, I think to get over the hurdle, I think to me that was our national championship, especially for the class of players that was graduating. I know we had 1 or 2 of them that were here for the 21 team, but I think for those seniors, it was really important to win the conference championship. I know, winning in the semifinals was great. It got us likely the bid in the USCAA, but I think winning that conference championship in this year, I think exceeded maybe anything else. And you basically said the same thing, that the preseason, what we were going, we thought, okay, we're dealing with some adversity. Gruber's injured, preseason ranked, yes, number 2, but we had things happen. We had a challenging schedule. So I think winning the conference championship was, that moment. And, hopefully next year we get over the finish line. And yes, thank you. Yes, Zilla is always here at all my streams, and we love Zilla. We appreciate her. I know I only got so much time with you, but I want to give you something, and hopefully I can share my screen and get this right, because for those that are listening and watching here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, Coach, you joined the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And
Thank
yeah,
you.
you joined the Hall of Fame, and I even got a new banner for it, because one of my guys on my internet radio station decided we needed a banner, and we're going with it. So you're a
right.
Hall of Famer. You're the first one that we unveiled the banner. We have a new banner and logo for the Hall of Fame, and we'll give you this when we're off the air. And congratulations, and you get ahead of Gordieso on tomorrow's show. So you get one up, and I'm sure Facino will be very happy about that one. He will be very, very happy about that one personally, that you're in the Hall of Fame before Mr. Gordieso is.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the honor.
And hopefully maybe you'll use this on the softball field coming up this summer, because obviously we know that
we don't talk about that.
Yeah, well, I know the players even kind of made a joke about that. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that here, on the air, but nevertheless, we'll give this to you off the air. And congratulations, you were in the Hall of Fame, and you were in the Hall of Fame, I think, like so many of our coaches here at Five Towns, not just for on the field, but off the field. I always say that to me here at Five Towns, it's not just about on the field. It's about being in the classroom just as you are on the field. And I think we've got a great bunch of students that are going to lead us into the future. They are the next generation, and I really believe the best is yet to come, because of what you guys have all done here in building a program not just for on the field but off the field. And they're on their way to being far greater men than I have ever or will be. And I think that's why we need to all follow the Five Town Sound men's soccer team here, coming up on Instagram at FTC Men's Soccer. All right, before we get going here and we get to closing thoughts, is there anything else you want to talk about the team, or anything else that you may want to address about the season that you feel we haven't covered yet?
No, I mean, we pretty much touched on everything. I've said it thousands of times. I'll say it again. Like, I can't thank these guys enough for believing and digging deep and doing, being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And it was truly a great season. And it was a very, very tough season. The worst travel season we ever had.
Oh my goodness! I mean, you guys, I joked about this with Facina when he was here last time out. You guys got to get a better schedule. I mean, I know you guys, the schedule. I mean, that basically it was almost like good one hand tied behind your backs. I mean, we got to let's level the playing field a little bit, figuratively and literally. I mean, I know you can say nothing on it, but I'm going to say it. I mean, certain schedule makers, I'm sure, wanted to put a hand in their team having certain favoritism, but we can't travel as much as we traveled in that span of October. I mean, that's
it's tough having a full-time job and having to
this isn't Duke.
I couldn't take off. I
know this isn't Duke here. I mean, this isn't Notre Dame. I mean, we're Five Towns. We gotta these kids are student athletes. I mean, we gotta just saying. I mean, you guys can say nothing on that, but I would really hope that the schedule evens out in itself. But I think that's what I'm going to take away from the season this year. I know we've done this every year with Facina, going back to 1920. We talked a lot during COVID, so we'll throw that 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Is that when I look back on this year's team, I think the adversity was most this year. I know a couple years ago we got in, we didn't know if we were going to get in, but I think that schedule to me stands out most in playing Syracuse, Rochester, Albany, playing as many teams as we did in most of those games on the road, and yet to win a conference championship. And I think the leadership of this team, the family acronym, the younger players starting to pull their weight, and then Garcia, I think that's what I'm going to remember about this season. And I think that's why we're really excited about what's ahead coming up.
Yeah, if you asked me what player was the key to our season, it'd be very hard for me to say either Jose Garcia or Anthony Campos. You can't say one without the other, to be quite honest. Yeah, we had some important players like Hickling and Santos and everybody else that contributed, but those two were key, solid, fundamental guys that held down the fort and were the reason why we were successful. As I said, Garcia won us some games, and Anthony was the motor that controlled our entire, from the middle of the field, controlled the entire games for us and took over. And those two guys, key players of the seasons, and I can't speak highly enough. All these players that I can't. It's
No.
it's
It's always difficult to speak about that and such. And obviously, you mentioned Campos, first team all conference. You mentioned Hickling, first team all conference. Obviously, Garcia. And Facina, by the way, wins coach of the year. In previous shows, I didn't really bring it up when Facina was here, but we were like, how did he not win coach of the year? But this
he
year,
should win it every year.
If I ask Facina that every
that's not
time,
being biased because I see what other coaches do.
I know. Listen, I'm with you, but Facina's, to me, it was some years it was an abomination. It was one year in particular, right? We didn't win the coach of the year. We were the best team. It was like
but you got national coach of the year, yeah.
Yeah, I think the job with what he did speaks volumes. All right, I'm going to ask you two more questions before we sign off. And I know we talked about the seniors, but what are you going to miss most about our seniors that we're not going to see anymore?
Just the type of people that they are off the field. The kind of players that, it wasn't just like, let's all joke around on the bus. They would come and sit and talk strategy and ask us what we're thinking and ask us what's working or what's not, why we're not getting results. What could we do? But like, those are the type of players that they are and the type of people that they are. They're kind, they're caring, they sacrifice, they're just an incredible group of well-rounded men that were boys when they came to us and they left us as men. And, the number one thing as a coach, you have to win to keep your job. But for me and for Coach Facina, that we've always said, I know you said it on your station before, is we want to watch them graduate. We want to watch them walk as men, graduating with a degree, some as the first college graduates in their
family. Yeah, that's a big thing. That's a very big deal.
And that to me, as much as I won a national championship and we have these rings for the conference and everything, that is the biggest achievement possible. And that's what I coach for.
Yeah, I really think what is always to me stood apart from Five Towns and other places is that we value our students here. We want them not just to be, like I said, successful on the field. It's always been about in the classroom. Coach Facina being an educator, he's always checked upon his students, making sure that they're doing their homework, making sure that they're taking classes that they want to in order to help them to get that degree. Jeff was here in the chat. Obviously, Jeff is an educator himself. When he was here at Five Towns, we spoke a lot about that. So I've always felt that here at Five Towns, it's not just about winning that conference, winning the national, doing all those things on the field, because we know that eventually there is an end to this, and we want to make sure that we give our students the most productive tools possible in order for them to be successful members of the community, to be where we all can be proud of them. And I think that that's what was always to me stood apart about Five Towns, whether it's, the electives here, whether it's their majors, whether it's the tools we have here on campus with the radio station, whether it's with the music program, whatever it might be here, they want to get in business here at Five Towns. These are things that we are working to make sure that our students go out there and put the job and put it to get the job done, just like they've done on the field. We're going to make sure that we get those results here off the field. All right, I ask you one more question. Anything else you want to say to your players, your coaching staff, and even to Coach Facina that don't pass the Sunday sauce to at the dinner table later?
I just thought, I want to thank Coach Facina. He's the reason why I got my start in college coaching. I just had youth training, but being a college coach was my dream, and he gave me my shot. So I just want to thank him, and it's been an honor to ride with him these past 7 years. To the Five Towns athletic staff for keeping me employed and hiring me in the first place, and always believing that me and Coach Facina had this big dream and we can do it. And I hope we've been proving them, making them proud and proving them that they made the right hires with us. To all the players in the past and present in the future. Thank you for coming to Five Towns, believing in the coaching staff and believing in us. And, our track record and our work ethic should speak for itself. But I'm here for questions, Coach. Anybody on the coaching staff is here for questions, and we're on 24/7. It's not just in season. It's not just during practice hours and stuff. We're here always. So if you ever need anything, always reach out and let us know. To my wife for holding down the fort during the season, watching our 1-year-old son, being at games on the sidelines and all that. I love you. Thank you for everything and for letting me have this opportunity. It means the world to me, and it's something that's very important to me. And for you to understand that, I truly appreciate it. And to all the family out there as well and friends that watch from afar and reach out and congratulate for results and stuff. Your support means the world, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely, no question about that. Family is certainly an important thing, and we live by that acronym here at Five Towns. And I think before we sign off here tonight, what will always stand out most is that this was a program built from the ground up. There was nothing in the dirt, nothing. And to go like what you said, where have a winning percentage of more than 2-1. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. 60-28. 60-28. Then there's a bunch of ties there also. But you're talking about a winning percentage that's close to 70-30. Think about that. Close to 70-30. This wasn't a program that had 5-6 championships. We were talking with Jeff yesterday, and Westbury's got the history, the alumni. We love that, by the way. We love Jeff. But, at Five Towns, we didn't have any of that. It was nothing. There was nothing. Basically, it was almost a dollar in a dream. Field of dreams. Basically, that's what this was. And for this program in 7 years to be 60-28 and to have won multiple conference championships, to have been in the USCAAs every year, I think that speaks volumes to the character of you as a staff, but also those players and the athletics department that we've built here. And that's why I think it's going to continue. The best is yet to come. A rising tide always lifts all boats. If you hear one more time on Sportswire Radio before we sign off here, please follow the Five Town Sound men's soccer team. Please follow them. You can certainly do that on Instagram. That's the best way to follow the Sound and hear them loud and proud. It is FTC Men's Soccer. You can follow Coach Wells out there, but also you can check out some of the players, some of the updates. Also, I want to plug it one more time before we sign off. We have the futsal tournament coming up here January 25th. Very important. You get out there and support that futsal tournament. That's going to be 1 month from this Sunday, so it's 5 weeks from today, and that's going to take place here in Dix Hills. 3 games guaranteed. You can email, text, or DM Coach Facina. It's open up to all the high school teams in the area, and it's only $250. Yes, let me play to that person. I agree with you. But you get that $250. You go message Coach Facina. You're going to play, and we're going to see. Let thy people play. You're going to make sure that here and follow all the things that this team has, and you're going to definitely be hearing the Sound a lot more on Sports Radio as we always do. Coach, I want to wish you a very happy holiday. I want to wish you a happy new year. Thank you for all that you do, most importantly, not just on the field, but off the field for our students. And I can't wait to see you back here in 26. And make sure you hit a couple of home runs to make sure Facina on the softball field goes down a notch or two. No, just kidding. But no, really just kidding. But nevertheless, thank you, Coach. Thank you for all that you do. And happy holidays, happy new year. And congratulations on a great season. And congratulations on what you're doing with these men.
I appreciate it. Happy holidays to you as well and everybody that's listening out there. And I look forward to being back one day. Maybe do a preseason. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe a preseason show instead of an after show.
I know. Well, I'm glad you bring it up because every year we talk about this. But your brother-in-law doesn't seem to want those preseason shows. He's always superstitious, and he's like, "Don't talk about it." I never forget. He called it when I was doing radio. I was doing it on the radio, the Friday night shows. I never forget one time he called in. And other than that, it was actually during the 21 year. He called in. He will not talk about. Yeah,
he's gonna call in again. That year was magical. What is he doing?
Well, he don't want to do it. He said he doesn't.
The dinner table now.
Many times he does not want to talk before the season. 22, 23, 24, 25. Go through this every year with him. He wants to wait. Jeff, when he was here, Jeff was like, I'll talk our age after every game. I mean, Jeff was like, I'll talk about every game. But, your brother-in-law is like, no. He just wants to wait until, the chips. He's very superstitious with that. What can I tell you? We'll change his mind. Who knows? But thank you, everybody, here for tuning in. Coach Goody, so Coach Festina's frenemy, you might want to say, will be here tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm sure we'll talk about Coach Festina and we'll talk about the Sunday sauce. But until then, let Coach Wells enjoy some Sunday sauce because his other half will kill him if he doesn't get off the air. So until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on Sportswire. Yes, try a career stand-up comedy because that's the only place I'm going after this. But go follow the sound, hear him loud and proud. We'll see everybody here tomorrow for Coach G.